This is KGW News at noon.
It was icy in a number of areas this morning, and that was true in Beaverton too, where this truck slid down a 30-foot embankment. It happened around 6:30 this morning near the corner of Southwest Murray Boulevard and Milliken Way. Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue crews had to use ropes to get to the crash and pull the person out. Hello, I'm Christine Pedawanich. Thank you for joining us here at noon. That person involved in the crash was sent to the hospital. At this point, no word on their condition. Here's a live look at Trip Check. While that crash temporarily closed Southwest Murray, at last check, the road is back open, but you can see a little red there on your screen. So if you're headed to that area, just expect some traffic delays. Okay, with that, let's bring in Chris McGinnis. And Chris, it was icy this morning in a lot of areas. What's it looking like now? Yeah, well, we are starting to thaw out, right? I mean, temperatures this morning are running a good 8 to 10 degrees below average in some cases. We have thawed a bit, and the last check over downtown, we're also starting to break up that cloud cover that was very thick over downtown this morning. At last check, we're up to 42 degrees at PDX. We started the morning at freezing, so we've thawed out a bit. Hillsborough was all the way down to 22 or 23 this morning, so you've made a nice recovery as well. 41 there, 40 in Scappoose, and temperatures down in the central Willamette Valley have also moderated quite a bit. I'm not sure about that Silverton number at 33, but certainly 40s are pretty common. Almsville, west of Dallas, Corvallis, again, areas that were blanketed with snow yesterday morning. Likely all of that has melted to this point, and now we're back into the low 40s. We'll take you up where the snow is not melting. We're going to add some more to this snowpack up on Mount Hood starting again tonight and tomorrow. More on that in a second. Yes, there's more weather moving in the form of rain and maybe some snowflakes down low as well. But the remainder of our afternoon keeps us mostly to partly cloudy, with temperatures kind of holding steady. About 42 or 43 should do it. And then we dip, and the next storm system moves in. And yeah, we're going to be watching maybe some snowflakes mixed in with the raindrops here in Portland. Higher up, we will see some accumulating snow. I'll walk you through that and get a look to your weekend forecast coming up in just a bit. Christine. Okay, thank you, Chris. So you just heard Chris talking about those colder temperatures. It is no surprise Multnomah County officials are reporting a second suspected death from hypothermia. All we know is the person died in Portland yesterday, and at this point, no other details are being released. Multnomah County's medical examiner will investigate to confirm the cause of death. That could take weeks, maybe even months. The tally is in on how many people ditched their cars during last week's historic snowstorm. The Portland Bureau of Transportation says at least 609 cars were abandoned on Portland roads and freeways. About 350 of them were towed. Many people had no other option but to leave their car. And now we're hearing from a growing list of people who say their towing bill was more than $700.
It was ridiculous. I've been towed before, but I was expecting 300 to 500. 787 is outrageous. I just think that these tow companies are, preying on people in crappy situations, and that's not all right.
We reached out to Anderson Towing, the company handing out those steep charges. A man who answered the phone said they, quote, reserve comment at this time, then hung up.
Could you imagine what it feels like to be proficient and competent at a job you love, yet not have the ability to do your best because you're continually being pushed to do more and more by your employer?
In Salem, lawmakers are discussing a bill that would place strict limits on nurses' workloads. As our Alma McCarty found, supporters say the legislation will help hold hospitals accountable, while opponents believe it'll threaten patients' access to care.
Ahead of 2 days of testimony in Salem, Representative Rob Noce began by saying this.
I know that this is a very big deal. This is probably one of the most important topics that we're going to wrestle with.
The topic in question, hospital staffing. The bill on the table would mandate nurse-to-patient ratios. The proposed legislation would ensure staffing levels were sufficient to allow workers to take meal and rest breaks. The ratios would vary by type of care and department. Hospitals could be fined or sued for not meeting those standards. Nurses argued it's not a matter of money. It's the unrelenting demands of the job.
We do not have a shortage of nurses. We have a shortage of nurses willing to work at the bedside in the current conditions.
Could you imagine what it feels like to be proficient and competent at a job you love, yet not have the ability to do your best because you're continually being pushed to do more and more by your employer?
You're pushing these people past their breaking point, and that should worry you.
Some said despite their dedication and years of work, they've left the bedside for good.
I felt exhausted, demoralized, worthless, gaslighted, then numb, apathetic, and suicidal. The most traumatic shifts that triggered my burnout were when we were understaffed. I developed overwhelming anxiety trying to juggle unsafe staff loads, safe medication administration, and trying to care for everyone at once with the care that they really needed.
Amid the passionate support for this legislation, chief nursing officers and other opponents from across the state said this bill is not the solution. President and CEO of the Oregon Association of Hospitals and Health Systems called it a dangerous experiment at the worst possible time.
The nurse staffing law needs to be modernized. It needs to work for today's environment. I am confident that together we can work to address these challenges. But this bill does not do those things.
We already aim to have the same standards that are being recommended. It's not from lack of trying.
And patients and their loved ones are going to lose if this bill passes.
Alma McCarty, KGW News.
Hospital administrators are also concerned they may have to limit beds or reduce services if they can't hire enough staff to meet the ratios laid out in the bill. Lawmakers have about a month to work on it, then move it out of committee. Oregon Senator Ron Wyden wants airlines to give you a cash refund if your flight gets canceled. If passed, the bill would make the Department of Transportation's rule mandating cash refunds federal law. This comes after that major flight meltdown over the holidays. You might remember it. It involved primarily Southwest Airlines. The bill would also require airlines and ticketing agents to tell passengers about those refunds. Now to an update on the mass overdose that happened last month at a home in McMinnville. One person died, 6 others went to the hospital, and a man now faces federal charges because police say he sold the 7 people inside the home cocaine laced with fentanyl. According to court documents, 28-year-old John Kyle Donahue sold the laced cocaine on February 10th and actually warned the people who bought it that it might contain fentanyl. Records also show one of the victims used a home test kit that showed at least some of the cocaine was fentanyl-free. One more note from those documents, they showed that Donahue drove 3 of the people who used the cocaine to the hospital. If he's convicted, he could face 20 years or more in prison. Today, extra federal food benefits come to an end. Millions of Americans received them during the pandemic. That means those families now have less money every month to spend on food. The extra benefits started going out in April of 2020. In Oregon and Washington, more than 930,000 households received them. Anyone who still needs support should call 211 for information about other resources.